Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Critics Cut. My name is Jacob, and as a follow-up video to my review that I just released for the Optimus Prime Lego set, we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 characters that Lego need to make next. Hopefully they do one of these every year, as like they do with the modular buildings and Winter Village sets. So without further ado, let's jump into this, starting with number 10. At number 10 we have Ratchet. This is based on the live action films version of Ratchet. I do think Lego will go for the G1 version, as they probably do the majority of any Transformers they make going forward, but I would like to see maybe from each of the different cartoons, maybe a different version. I know it won't be in the same style as G1 Optimus, but you could like cross over with the different versions, so you could get one from the live action films, you could get one from the Transformers animated or Transformers Prime versions of these certain characters, because I don't really want like 100 different versions of Optimus Prime. But of course the G1 will sell the most to the older fans of Transformers, whereas myself as a slightly younger fan who started off younger from the Beast Wars cartoon and so on with the Unicorn trilogy up till Prime. Yeah, Ratchet is at number 10 on the list because he is probably the least iconic on this list. But majority of this list will be Decepticons, and I wanted to get in some Autobot characters. So I thought, as one of the main original trio, at number 9 is a bit of a weird one, but this is a small version of the Ark. I do have the larger one from the Bay films, which is in storage, which I'll throw a picture up of on screen now. This did come with a little stand, but we're not here to talk about this toy. We're talking about Lego. So yes, I think I put this at number 9 because the Ark is super iconic to Transformers lore, and in the Transformers animated series, it does transform to Omega Supreme. In the Cybertron trilogy they just did on Netflix, it also does transform there. So there is precedent for this iconic vessel to transform. But I thought I'd throw this in here because I just believe that this would be really cool. It might have to be a lot more downscale because in universe this would be a lot larger than Optimus. But as I said in my previous review video, Lego could make a scale like this sort of height compared to the scale of a Lego minifigure, which you got here, and then you could make larger play scale versions of sets, which I think this would be a great addition to add. Number 8 we have Shockwave, who's probably my personal favourite Decepticon next to Soundwave. Yeah, I recently got this figure of him. It's a newer toy, but I was on a bit of a Transformers kick recently, and I realised I never had a Shockwave in my collection, going back through all my old stuff. But yeah, Shockwave, do I need to say much about Shockwave? He's a mad scientist. He's a loyal or unloyal sometimes, depending to Megatron or 5 Decepticons that most people recognise, especially with his one eye, which I think would look great as a Lego build. For an alternate mode, it would have to be a tank, of course, and they could base it on a Cybertron design, which would differentiate from this version of Optimus Prime, which transforms in a G1 Earth style truck. So it'd be good to get some Cybertronian vehicles in there as well. For number 7, this one is probably unlikely. I don't have a figure to show for this, so I'll just throw a picture of him on screen. But it is Primus, who transforms into the home planet of the Transformers, Cybertron. Now, Lego recently did the Lego Globe, and if you watch Gemini Productions, he did a mock-up of the Death Star in the same vein. At number 6, we have Unicron. Like, I feel like if Lego were going to do a version of the Globe, this is why Unicron's a little bit higher than Primus. If Lego were going to do the scale of the Globe, of course they're going to do Unicron first. Like, just give it a stand to hold it up, because he'll have the giant ring going around. Again, he doesn't have to transform, but I think as an alternative to this, they could include a side build of the cartoons and stuff. The head is its own separate headquarters for some of the bad guys in the different shows and comics and stuff. Retail for, say, well, with the Globe currently £175 plus price increases, they could price it around £230, £250 maybe, if they want to include that head as a side build, and because the ring will take up some extra parts and the stand would have to be different. But I could I could see Lego doing that maybe a lot further down the line. This number 5 may shock a lot of people. I don't have a toy of this character, but I'll throw him up on screen. He's about to get very popular with the new Transformers Rise of the Beasts film coming out in 2023. If it doesn't get delayed again. I think Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal side by side would be really, really cool to have. They could base it off the original Beast Wars cartoon of Light, because it is the same continuity as the G1 Optimus Prime, because it is a direct sequel to the original cartoon. Or they could do it based off the new film, and have it released next year to coincide with it, because he is very iconic. I know some people don't really like the Beast Wars stuff because of the animation's a bit dated, but the story is very good and the characters are very well recognised, and they've popped up again, especially more recently in the new Netflix adaptation. But yeah, Optimus Prime was in my number 5 because I think because he's going to be in the new film, it gives Lego some recency and ties into stuff like Lego likes to tie in, especially next year when the new film comes out. Before, this is Starscream from the live action films toy, but yeah, Starscream is my number 4. Now, you're probably wondering, why isn't Starscream like number 3? Because he is like Megatron's second. We'll get to that, there's a reason for that, but yes, of course, Starscream is mega iconic. He's in a bunch of the Transformers cartoons and various media, like the bane of Megatron's existence, except Optimus Prime. And yeah, he's just such a cool character. I wouldn't know what design they might go after G1 design for Starscream, but I would personally like to see a more modern rendition of that, or maybe the Transformers Prime design is probably one of his more recent popular versions of the character they could do. As I said at the beginning, I wouldn't mind if they took from different medias and did different versions of characters. They don't all have to be in G1, but like we all know, they will do only G1 versions of characters, but I would like to see him branch out a bit. It wouldn't bother me if there's no consistency with this Optimus Prime. I don't want everything to be in the same style. Like, not everybody grew up on G1. I didn't. I just watched pieces of it growing up when I was younger. I mainly grew up on the later cartoons, so there are some fans like myself who are a lot older now that can afford to buy these sets, and I'm sure some adults of the G1 cartoons fans wouldn't mind buying different versions of these characters. At number 3, I really wanted to put this guy at number 1 because he is probably my favourite Transformer of all time, but we have Soundwave. Now, this is from the Transformers Cybertron. It's the only version of him I have. I would like to get the G1 version one day. And next to him, we have the live-action version of Ravage. I thought I'd include him because if Lego are going to do Soundwave, which they must do eventually in the cassette tape form, 99% of the time he is a cassette tape form, and when he transforms, or radio. So they can also include Laserbeak as well. I don't have a Laserbeak, but yeah, they could include him and Ravage together as separate side builds. That it'd be really cool if Lego could do like they did with the Matrix of Leadership, have the chest pop open and you could put maybe one of the cassette tapes inside, which they clearly seem to be able to do. At number 2, I have put Bumblebee. I know a lot of people are probably going to put him at number 1 because he pair great with Optimus Prime. But personally, I think we need a Decepticon first before we get another Autobot. We need someone for this guy to battle, even though it's more of a display model. But yeah, Bumblebee's definitely number 2. He's definitely got to be on the way. I think some mocks that I've seen of people doing a version of him with the trailer for Optimus as an expansion set would be a great way to go in the future. Or they could do it where he's based off the 2018 live-action film version of Bumblebee, which kind of gives you the G1 aesthetic at the same time. Again, it brings in more recent, younger fans as well. I think Lego got to branch out in that way. But yeah, Bumblebee's definitely got to be number 2, but I think you all know who's going to be number 1. Of course, number 1, it has to be Megatron. Megatron has got to be the next one they are working on for whenever they release the next Lego Transformers set. They've got to do more of these, and of course Megatron will be next because he's the leader of the Decepticons. He's up there with Optimus Prime as one of the most iconic characters from the franchise, and But I can see a problem coming with doing it based on the G1 design, and I think this is why Lego will have to branch out and do different versions, because I don't know the name of the gun, but if you look at this toy, this is the G1 version of Megatron, and beside him there I've got one of the live action versions of Megatron. So this is the problem. Let me show you when I transform the two Megatron toys that you see in front of you. Now the problem Lego are going to have when making Megatron is, if they want to keep the G1 style, which they will do, alternate mode for Megatron was a realistic gun, which I have the toy version of, which has an orange tip on it, because that's part of the code, like the Toy Guild code or something like that, that prevents toy companies from making realistic looking guns. So they have to put the orange tip on the end, which looks really weird. But here we have the tank form of him from the films. So Lego are going to have to obviously make his alternate mode a tank, which they have done in newer media, like the Netflix cartoon. He changes into a tank because Lego have a policy against realistic weapons. That's why they don't do military stuff. I know it's ridiculous. They could just make it 18 plus because they have an 18 plus line now, but it's their values. It's just Lego's way of getting around it. But yeah, unfortunately, this is going to be the biggest problem for Megatron when they, of course, have to do him next, because we need a Decepticon first before we get Bumblebee. But yeah, I would love to see, obviously, the original toy version. Like, they really pushed hard in the marketing for the Optimus Prime that they wanted him to be very realistic to the original G1 toy, which of course Lego aren't going to do with Megatron. They just can't do it. Of course, they could also do Galvatron in the future. Again, a little thing like the Soundwave, they could do him, which would be really cool as well, because he's another iconic character. Sometimes he's Megatron, sometimes he's a different person, but yeah. Galvatron would be really cool to get as well, way down the line. And that's going to do it for the top 10 list of Lego Transformers that Lego need to make next. Hope you all did enjoy. Leave your suggestions down in the comments below. Is there anybody I missed, one of your favourites, that you would like them to see them do in the future? And yeah, stay tuned for more. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you again in the next video. Bye for now.